we're ready to play. We're ready to play. We're tired of practicing against ourselves and the practice guys. We're ready to play. As far as game preparation goes, we at this point of the year, Toledo hasn't played any games, so it's sort of a bit of guesswork as to who's going to be starting, who's going to play the minutes, and what type of things they're running. Just based on what we've seen from them in the past, that's what we based our scouting report on, of course. So we've had some time to go over those type of things and really just prepare the kids for those type of things, and we're hopeful that that will be enough. But a lot of it is about getting our things, the things that we do, up to speed, and really being prepared in that manner. And I think we're getting close. I mean, we can always get better, but we're getting close to being where we need to be for a season opener.
Your preseason game, anything stand out to you in that game?
There were a few things. I wasn't overly happy with our exhibition game.
Yeah.
Primarily there were two standpoints that I was disappointed. One was from a defensive standpoint. I thought that started out the game really well. Obviously, I think we had given up 7 points at the 7-minute mark to go in the first half. I think we had held them to 7 points, and then I thought we lost focus, and that is the second complaint that I had, was that our focus was not good, and we need to be able to focus for longer periods of time. I think that's a real challenge with this day and age with kids, is just holding their attention for longer periods of time. But if we want to be competitive and we want to contend for a league championship, then we need to be able to be diligent about our focus, so that we can, we're not missing anything, and too many things slide by us when we're not focused. What our film session showed afterwards was how we were moving on every pass defensively, how we were talking and adjusting our position and helping and all of those things defensively. And then as the game wore on and we sustained a lead, I think we started to play hard on the ball, and everybody else just sort of relaxed. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of gap penetration. There was no backside help. And so I was, disappointed with that. Overall, you look at the score, it's a 20-point game, and we did hold them to 51 points. But I think that this team is far more capable of defending than we have been in the past. And so we have to hold ourselves accountable every game. And this was a game we could have done a better job defensively.
It looked like that second half, they came out and you had some problems focusing, for lack of a better term, right out of halftime, and they made a game of it for a while.
Well, right off the bat, they ran a play that we run. They ran a set that we run, right? I mean, half the teams in the country run a handful of sets, and so we've defended it 100 times, and we've run it 100 times, and we didn't rotate properly at all, and we even knew it was coming. So really, those are the types of things where you say to them, what needs to happen here and why isn't it happening? You know this, you have the information you need. This is almost memory because you've defended this so many times. So clearly you just weren't tuned in. And those are the things we're asking our leaders to keep a handle on out on the court. When there's a free throw by either us or our opponent, are we huddling? Do we talk about what's next? Are we talking about the box out in and of itself? Because everybody has a responsibility on a free throw. Everybody has a responsibility in transition on defense, in transition on offense, and they need to be focusing on those things piece by piece in the game. And so that, as I said, that was one of my biggest concerns.
How deep is your rotation going to be? I mean, you played a lot of people in against Lake Erie, but it changes a little bit when it's for real in that. Will you play a lot of, and since you have so many freshmen, will some of them get some significant time?
Well, the plan is always,
It's a plan.
Yeah, it's a plan, so there's a lot of deviation when it comes to that plan. But the plan is for this game that we will go 9 or 10 deep. And of course, it will depend upon, the foul situation. And actually, part of that may cause us to go. A foul situation you would think would cause us to go a little deeper in the bench, but in actuality, it may cause us to not be able to go as deep in the bench. And what I mean by that is, depending on who gets in foul trouble. I mean, right now, I will play some of my freshmen as long as we have these kids on the floor. I tend to not want to put a freshman in with, unless there are at least 3 returning starters on the floor. If 2 of those returning starters get into foul trouble, it may limit how much time I get for a young player. So, which would make us go, our depth would be challenged by that. There are times, for rebounding purposes, I've stated that it's really difficult for me to take both Imani Gordon and Alexis Eccles off the floor at the same time. So what does that mean? That means that there's one spot for a big at any given time until they show me that they can do some more rebounding. So things like that, it just really depends on what happens in the game. But my desire is to have 9 to 10 players that will be ready to play.
But that's even a little long. That's more depth than sometimes you're used to having.
Oh, that's way more depth than I'm used to having, yeah.
I mean, usually sometimes it's 6 or 7 or that. Does that just mean that you have more talented players that you are not so afraid to play them then?
We're deeper. We're definitely deeper this year. And some of that depth is coming from our freshmen. So, like last year, when we only had 6 returning players last year, and we had 2 freshmen who were our 6th and 7th man with Olivia and Kayla Livingston. And they got a lot of time because they needed to. Now, what we would like, and at the end of the year, they were very good. They could have easily started for us. They were very good. So, reality is that if we can give a couple of our freshmen some of that time this year, that by the end of the year, they should be very good. Are they great right now? Are they ready to roll? Are they ready to play, Horizon League basketball? Not yet, but in order for them to be ready, I need to get them some minutes, here in the non-conference season.
You have 3 seniors who have, played many games for you. Is it kind of their team? What I'm saying is, they're going to have to lead here, and is it a help to have these 3 young women, playing their last year, trying to lead the team on the floor?
They definitely are the leaders. They have obviously the most experience, but they also have a sense of urgency, which always happens with seniors. I think they felt ownership of this team, as early as the beginning of the season last year. But now there's a lot more at stake because this is it. There's no more time. So it appears to me that they are not letting things slip. Like if you're not in position where you're supposed to be and it hurts us, from a defensive standpoint, they're not going to wait for me to say it. They're going to say it. And that's positive. We could use a lot more of that. Communication out there on the floor, letting people know what we are doing well and what we aren't doing well. So I do see that. I think all 3 of them are a valuable part of that. I think Imani Gordon is probably the lead person in that group, who is voicing where we need to step up, and her expectations are high for the season and for the team. So she's being pretty clear about that out on the court.
And obviously, three biggest scorers as well. So, and along with does what is this? Does that help the offense, knowing that you potentially could have 3,000 point scorers on the floor at the same time?
Well, I think barring injury, we will have that. But absolutely, I mean, we aren't wondering. A year ago we were wondering where is the scoring going to come from, because we had graduated Shea, who was scoring a lot of points.
Right.
And it was a collective effort, and that was a really healthy growth for us, because we had one significant scorer on the team for several years. We had that in Kaylee Klein, we had that in Shea Winton, we even had it in Shanita Garland in her senior year. So this is a healthier balance for us, and I think it's helped our team to grow in that we can see the ball can be distributed. It's not about getting the ball to one kid. They don't have to carry that weight. So that absolutely helps us from an offensive perspective. It helps us from a defensive perspective as well. And I think, Des, who grew tremendously last year as a player, was our most improved player. Again, she has grown again over the course of the summer, and has really stepped up her game. So I think what you see is that the 4 returning starters are better than they were. And then we lost Haley, and we're adding Lex. So, that remains to be seen. Where does that, how does that balance out? What kind of productivity can Lex give us? And we're counting on her to give us a lot. So